I had to let the dogs back outside again.
Okay.
But Bruce does the bulldog thing that I think all bully breeds must have this in common, because our other bulldog did this too, where you open the door and he steps out a little bit and then sits right in the middle of the doorway and just sort of looks outside like, and you're like trying to shove him, but he's a fucking bulldog and he weighs as much as a neutron star. So I'm trying to shove him outside and he just will not budge. It's, they're adorable. They're such a blessing.
So Onyx PathCon was sure done at the last minute.
Sure was.
Sure was. I had a good time though.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun to play in those streams. Boy, the Essence demo was fun.
Yeah, it was. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
This is bonus experience.
Yeah, hi, hello.
It's morning.
Yeah, it is morning.
Okay, wait, how does it, this is bonus experience. We are a podcast with a deeper look at the play experience and the finer details of running and writing games.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
We are two queer women speaking with authority about games.
And yes, we swear.
Die mad about it. We did it. We did the intro. I did it without looking.
This is another morning experience hangout where we're taking advantage of the fact that both of us work from home currently, and we can just wake up and immediately set up a microphone and drink some coffee and make wet oatmeal noises into the microphone.
Only one of us was making wet oatmeal noises.
I mean, I invited you to join me.
Yeah, I just don't have any...
You could very easily have made oatmeal in this time.
I could have, but I'm still working. This is the getting paid to podcast by my day job hour.
This apparently is also an episode about telling Heather what you've liked about her games. Oh, silence. Wow,
what?
Okay. Anyway.
I was clicking over to the other channel to see what specifically you were talking about. And then my brain was like, you weren't at Onyx PathCon. What are you talking about?
Divorce for Monica.
Apparently.
Divorce 1,000 years. Someone's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
You just missed coffee and wet oatmeal noises.
What do you mean? Do you mean the games that you wrote, or the games that you ran, or like games that you've played in? You're gonna have to be more specific. That's too vague for my brain right now. I mean, it was a simple question, but never doubt my ability to make a simple question extremely challenging.
You do, after all, develop Exalted.
It's true. I also have a terrible habit of adding extra rules where there aren't any. Like, I will just... If something's too open-ended, like in a rule or whatever in a game I'm playing, I will just patch it in my brain and create restrictions that weren't there. And then be like, oh, well, this was sort of like, oh, I only used it under these situations, and the person's like, actually, you're supposed to use it, like, all the time. And I was like, what? It didn't actually say this is only once a turn, and the person who wrote the game is like, no, of course not. It didn't say that at all. And I was like, well, maybe it should be. It was more balanced that way.
Maybe my way's better.
Maybe my way's better.
Maybe it was so terrible that I blocked it out of my mind and completely changed it. And here we are. Anyway, please tell Heather that she's good at running games.
You're very good at running games, and you showed me how to be good at running games, and that's why I'm also very good at running games. Also, you make fun characters that we all want to adopt.
That's true.
It's very true.
Like, when I look back on, like, games I've played in with you, it's always like, Yeah, and H was playing that one character. And then I have a million stories. This is going to be a little loosey-goosey.
It is going to be very loosey-goosey. We're unscripted.
Waiting for the coffee and the zippy whites to kick in.
I thought they were zippy greens.
Oh, they are greens. Oh, I got into the habit of calling them zippy whites because it just sounds better.
Zippy whites sounds like you're on fucking cocaine. Oh, shit.
I'm not on cocaine.
I know you're not.
Which is exactly what someone on cocaine would say. Monica.
Yes.
Onyx PathCon was this weekend.
It
as
was.
we've talked about.
Sure was.
You got to run a live playtest of the current build of Exalted Essence.
Yes, I did. And it was a good time.
It was. I was in the chat on the Discord side looking at like everyone basically combing over any statement that anyone made. Like, is that a new ability? Is that what we're calling attributes now? How many modes of essence do we get? Like completely like little ferrets picking through the fluff to find the shiny treasures within. No, it was very exciting, and it was so hard to not just like explain everything because I'm just so excited about Essence. It's so good. But someone in the chat, I fucking forgot who it was, and that's terrible. Someone in the chat at the time was asking if we could talk a little bit on our next episode about any of the prep you had to do to run this Essence playtest.
Yes,
and I know at first blush you were like, not much. Next question. So I have detailed questions that'll actually like force you to talk about it.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, my answer first off is not much. There was not a whole lot of in-depth prep that went into it. So go on, ask me your questions while I'm working, please.
Cool.
By all means.
So we've been pretty clear that making characters in Essence is a super quick and relatively painless endeavor. And that, at least for people who are familiar with Essence, like we are, because we fucking made it, it takes like less than 20 minutes to make a character. So when you had to make basically all of the pre-mades, how long did it take you to make? How many characters? 4?
Yeah, I had to make 4 characters. I wanted to make sure that each of them was capable of showing off a little bit of everything. And that everyone could participate in any kind of scene that came up.
Okay.
So I spread around the starting points, which are, I'll just tease a little bit, are more like an array. I'm not going to reveal how much is in this array or anything like that, because that's maybe tipping my hand a little bit too much, but it's very easy to go this. Done.
Yeah.
Which is why character creation goes so quickly, as you will not be sitting there going, well, do I assign my points here or do I assign my points here? And also all character creation points are... Oh, there's Rob.
Hey, Rob. Good morning.
Good morning. And all the character creation starting points are designed intentionally to leave room to grow.
Okay.
Even when you decide you're going to start the game at Essence 5. So...
cool.
I think that's about all the detail I'm comfortable with revealing.
Right. Okay.
So, doing the stat lines for 4 characters and then like tweaking them a little bit after the fact, that took me like, I don't know, half an hour.
Yeah. Okay.
I was also doing it while I was at work because I multitask with my day job all the time, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
The hardest part, and what's always the hardest part, is like picking out charms.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I know that the charm economy is a lot tighter. So, and that's often what takes the longest when making a character in Exalted.
Yeah. Since I sort of knew that I wanted to have everyone showcase a little bit of everything. So I think charms are the hardest to pick out when you don't know what you want to do. And since I knew that I wanted everyone to show off a little bit of something, it was like, okay, well, they have blah, blah, blah number of starting charms. I know that I'm going to pick this one thing, this one thing, this one thing, and this one thing. Like, I definitely, like, for Danielle's Dawn cast, I definitely was like, 1 ox body, 1 attack charm, 1 defense charm, 1 damage charm, 1 blah blah blah, for each one.
Yeah.
And so, like, first when I made the sheet, I just put in my placeholders, like 1 attack, 1 defense, 1 soak, blah blah blah. And then I went back through, because I have a master list of all the charm names because I wrote them down while I was redlining.
Okay, all right.
Well, that was I wrote them down in, like, with a very bad brief summary of what they do. You ever leave yourself a note where you're like, I'll definitely remember what this means, and then you go back to it later and you're like, why does the description of this just say crimes?
Yes, the crimes charm.
Yeah.
Spend 1 mote to crimes.
Yeah, so it was definitely, like, I definitely left myself some high quality notes like that.
Good. Cool.
But I also documented who wrote what, especially for Universals, so I knew where to go find them in the drafts.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Well, when I was doing the red lines, it was so I knew who to tell what, like, to give direction to people.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's section needed to add some stuff, I would be like, oh, so-and-so, add some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Because, like 4 different people, 5 different people wrote...
6 different people.
6 different people wrote Universals.
Yes. So I had to keep track of them.
Yeah.
And then it was important to me to know who contributed what so that I could give direction.
Right. Keep track of it all.
Yeah, trying to say that without making it sound bad. Because it wasn't bad. That was just my organizational tactic for keeping track of everybody's work. But it also meant that when I was building people's characters, I was like, oh, so-and-so wrote this one, I know exactly where to go to find it. And then the name, and I could just find Control F, charm name, pull it up, put the name down. And Dixie made little cheat sheet cards for everybody that had short little summaries of what everybody's stuff did.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It was a very good idea.
Did you have, like, any concerns about, like, party composition? Or were you focusing more on what you wanted to display for the audience?
I was more, like, I kind of did a little role thing. Like, Danielle's character was supposed to be really tanky. And Rich's character actually was set up to be, like, a multiple attack damage guy, and then he didn't do any of that. I was like, oh, cool, he wants to be a bear, I'll do, like, the bear swipes thing, and I gave him multiple attacks technique, and I gave him its damage booster, and, like, he actually wasn't that tough, he was just really good at, like, hitting a guy a bunch of times really hard. So that I could very much show the difference between a guy who hits a target a bunch of times really hard, and he also had, like, a cool little artifact knife.
Oh, cool.
Which is where his Freedom Stone was. Like, there were a bunch of details on his character that did not come through in the...
Nah, it was more about the spectacle of being a bear.
Being a bear, yeah, which is fine, because that was hilarious.
That was very good, honestly. He got out the bear mask, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
it's gonna be this kind of a game.
Listen, he was having a good time with it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But for our audience, like, he definitely was he was built to be like this... I will give Bruce a sec.
I know, I need to go.
Go give Bruce a sec.
Come here, baby. He's been loved enough. Who knows how long that will last him. His love tank has a leak in it. Gotta keep filling him with love. Gotta smooch that wrinkly snout.
Okay, right,
Party composition.
Rich's
right.
character, right. So I did really want to show off the difference between, like, guy who attacks a bunch of times fast with a light weapon, and, like, Danielle's character who was, like, Grand Diclave, heavy armor, hits once really hard.
Right, got it.
Yeah. So, like, I also really wanted to show the difference between, like, a full moon and a dawn, and how they're not just, like, a silver flavor of the other one.
Yeah.
And that didn't come through, but that's okay.
It was still fun.
Right, it was a lot of fun.
They may not have learned a whole lot about how dawns and no moons or full moons handle themselves in essence, but the audience did enjoy watching them do whatever it was they were doing.
Yeah. Which was have a good time.
And they learned about like the anima passives and things. There was a lot of debate over what the Dawn's anima passive was doing and whether Rich was using his lunar passives. Is that Zwei?
It is.
Zwei.
Good morning.
Guten Tag. What else did you have? You had an abyssal and you had an abyssal. Of course, Neil and Dixie, you had an abyssal and a sidereal.
Right. Neil really wanted to play he specifically asked to play like a diplomatic, snarky social character who was also a necromancer. So that's what I made him.
Got it.
And then
he got to do some stuff with that.
Yeah, he cast a spell, and it wasn't Bone Lion.
It wasn't Bone Lion. Everyone was waiting to see that Bone Lion. You're gonna have to wait a little bit longer.
He got a lot of mileage out of Command the Dead, and we got to see like a sliver of the. So I set up this. I did kind of write a very brief adventure. I wrote down a couple beats on a 3x5 card, and then I ran them past. I ran them past you because I'm not.
Questions about that too.
Sure, I'm not fantastic at running one shots. Because I tend to think too big. Like, I tend to stretch the... Relia, good morning.
Relia. The usual suspects are all here.
They are all here. We're very happy to see you. I tend to stretch the idea too far or want to big picture it too much. Mm-hmm. So I was like, who is much better at coming up with real short focused stories? I'm a text Ray about it. So
thank you.
So that's what I did. I was like, do these sound like 3 good beats to you? Because I figured I could do the 3 beats in the 3-ish hours we had. I actually didn't know how much time we had. Mm-hmm. I had heard 2 from people. And I had heard 3 from people, and I was like, well, it's just a demo. I don't know which one is true. It was 3 hours, though, so.
I'm gonna want some more coffee.
All right.
We can do a mid-episode break at the end of this line of questioning. What were we talking about?
Something about Essence. Bone Lions. Party composition? We were talking about how everybody's character was made?
Neil with Bone Lions and... sorcery, and we got to see a little bit of...
right. We got to see a little bit of a sliver of the social system because he provoked the big bad into fighting him. I was talking about the adventure structure and how I was sharing it with you.
Right. The adventure structure. I actually have more questions about that too, but before I continue,
all right.
Is there anything else that they had on their character sheets that you really wish they'd used? So you could be sharing it off.
So the struggle of running a one shot, especially as a demo and especially for an audience, is that you have to build these characters and you have to give them stuff. Like I was trying to give them all stuff that they might use. Like I was trying to avoid things that just aren't going to come up. Like this is a one shot. Right. Nobody is starting a fucking project in a one shot.
Right.
Like I was like project systems probably off the table, short of maybe an extended action that might come up, but like nobody's gonna venture off into the wild for 5 days to build a new city. Like that's off the table.
Yeah.
Or like decide they're going to found a kingdom. Like that's not happening.
Right. Nobody's about to make a War Strider arm.
Right. No one is going to craft an artifact in this game. And similarly, like, I wasn't going to give anyone merits that were, like, backing, because who cares?
Yeah.
So I had to... I mean, they matter for long games, but they don't matter for short games.
Yes, right, I agree.
I think I gave a couple people influence so that they could work that into their roleplay, but, like, the things that those merits do kind of don't matter in one-shots.
Okay.
So, like, everybody almost exclusively had, like, resources, contacts, familiar, artifact, Hearthstone. Like, the stuff that people get to see and get to use right away. And my focus was largely on making sure that everybody had something cool to pick from. And I knew that everybody was not going to use all their stuff, but I tried to give them things that could come up. Dixie had prior warning. I think she talked about that, which lets the sidereal spend stunt dice to dramatic edit, already knowing about something going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it lets you.
edit.
I believe it lets you cancel out an ambush by being like, "No stunt dice. I saw this coming."
Yeah, I have stunt dice. I'm a sidereal.
Right.
I can use this charm to say I already knew about this.
Yeah. All the dramatic editing stuff is meta. Like, I kind of want to make it clear to our audience that that is a meta thing. It's not. We're not literally talking about breaking a setting rule. Sidereals don't get to do that. They have foresight, and so you get to use that idea to edit the narrative, which may seem like time travel, but really you already saw the future, so you get to control how the narrative changes.
Right. It's sort of like, oh gosh, Absence in the old editions.
Yeah.
Where
I was never
a
here.
sidereal could, if you're within like 5 rounds of the start of combat, you can just be like, fuck this, I was actually never here, and just retcon that you were like somewhere else having a nice cup of tea instead of in this stupid fight.
Right.
Like that. Yeah. The dramatic editing is such a rich fucking vein for really a lot of different Exalted things. I love writing charms, and I for those who don't know, I wrote the solar charms, or I am writing the solar charms, and I also am contributing a lot to the Panoply, so like artifacts and hearthstones, and getting to write effects that kind of riff off of the new rule sets in Essence has been extremely fun. I'm actually really anxious to get my red lines back, just so I can get back to, because there's been a couple of new like systems introduced between when I wrote my stuff and now, like the project system. I want to get back my red lines so that I can like write charms that use this really cool project system now. So it's just very exciting. This has been so much fun, honestly. I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. So planning out the story, so to speak, knowing that it was going to be like a one shot. Yeah. What did you like? What was your process for coming up with like, okay, I only have 3 hours. What do we do?
Do you want to get your coffee before I launch into this question?
Ooh, yes, I do.
Okay, go do that.
Should you do a mid-episode break while I'm doing that?
I will have to pull up a mid-episode break text.
Rob, if we unmute you, will you do our mid-episode break?
Well, Rob is not in the cast recording, so it wouldn't matter.
Oh, that's right. Damn it. All right, never mind.
No, I'm
getting coffee.
All right, I'm grabbing the drive file right now.
Add coffee creamer to the shopping list.
For a second, I thought you were going to say, Alexa, add coffee creamer to my coffee.
Add coffee creamer to my butt. She's very helpful for me. Like, as much as I'm wary of her, it's so handy to have something that I can just immediately be like, remind me about this thing later, and it will just no problem shout to the whole house. I'm reminding you. Take your butt medicine. Like, it's impossible to forget.
Hey, BXP and the mid-episode break room are brought to you by the Misdirected Mark Network.
Bing.
Become a patron. Check us out at patreon.com/bonus experience. We do things like hang out with you live during your workday. Our $10 a month patrons get to help us shape our show by weighing in on important decisions, a benefit we remember to do.
Yeah.
BXP is sponsored by Nerdy Kepi. Go to nerdykepi.com and use code BXPcast at checkout for 10% off your order. There is no limit on how many times you can use it, so go and buy all kinds of cool Pride swag and support a small queer-owned business. They also have rad as fuck masks right now.
Yep.
So go get yourself some cool masks in your favorite Pride flag color and wear them to work. Saying nice things is always free. You can leave us a good review on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Google, Stitcher, anywhere you can find us. Go wherever you do that. It's cool. That's awesome. And it helps us get more listeners. So that'd be great if you would do that. If you like bonus experience, you will also like The Lounge. Doc finds the best the brightest, the most fun game designers and sits down to have a cool chat with them. You never know what conversation is going to come up in the lounge.
Doc's a cool guy.
Doc is a cool guy, and I miss him.
I miss him too. When are we gonna be back on the lounge?
I don't know. Doc, put us back on the lounge.
Every mid-episode break, I'm like, how come no one talks to us? Oh my gosh, did I lose it?
Did you lose
Oh
it?
no.
What?
I was looking for had a bad poop.
Oh, I saved had a bad poop. Do you want had a bad poop
I tried
back?
to save it too. Apparently I didn't save it. Yes, give it back to me. I crave it.
Okay, do you want me to PM it too, or?
Just put it in the mid-episode break room chat.
All right, hang on. Right, the outline, the structure, the...
Yeah, how did you decide on the story for this one shot?
So I asked the other developers what kind of game they wanted to play in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good way to go.
I wanted everyone in on the idea, since I was basically running it for the other two devs, and they also both know Rich better than I do. So, like, what do you think everyone would think was cool? Mm-hmm. I know Danielle pretty well, so wasn't like a question I needed answered. But for everyone else, like, what would be cool? And they wanted to fight the undead and overthrow a tyrant. So I was like, we can do both of those things. That can be both of them at the same time. Like the this is Exalted. The tyrant can be a shithead ghost.
And he was.
And Violet had already written up the shithead ghost for the home game that we played.
Yeah.
So I already had some undead enemy stats that were already done for me. So I just printed that shit off and reused it.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? I was like, okay, cool, perfect. Yes, Rob, I said shithead ghost. I did not have to do any extra work. Listen, ghosts in Exalted can be real powerful assholes. They can be tyrants and monsters, and
real assholes.
Real assholes. They can control whole areas. So I set up the structure to like have the opportunity to show off a little bit of everything depending on how people approached stuff. And you should never assume that players will do the thing you want them to do, and they sure didn't here.
Yeah.
So I was like, I will have my original, like, my hook was like, I'm gonna have these desperate bandits like attack them on the road, and basically show off that these people are no threat to them, and they're clearly like doing this out of desperation, right? Like nobody. If you attack a circle of exalts on the road, you are either desperate or very stupid,
or both.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have these people who are clearly like suffering from malnutrition. Their equipment's shitty. They look scared. I'll set up this situation where they get attacked by these extras, both to show off extras rules, and then give them the clue immediately that these are no threat to them and that they are desperate. And maybe that will provoke someone into being like, hey, maybe we shouldn't fight them, let's talk them down, and we'll get to see some social interaction right away, right?
Okay.
Or they'll decide to just blender them, and we'll get to see what blendering extras looks like. And I'll get to show off some rules one way or another. But then I also decided I was going to let them develop the setting off the cuff, like when we started the game.
That was a cool way to begin the session.
Thank you. I highly recommend it for all games. your players are a resource, and you do not have to do all the work. So I made everybody, if you didn't watch it, I made everyone state one fact about the setting in which the one-shot was taking place, and the end result was this really interesting and weird place that they came up with, that was like scarred by magic, and it was near a shadowland, and it was causing, like, because of it was scarred by magic, it was causing a weird, like, distortion in the sky where you could see the underworld stars and the creation stars at the same time. And then Dixie introduced that there were funeral priests coming to help people with the like, shithead ghost problem, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. And so instead of having the bandits attack the party, I was like, well, I'll take these cool funeral priests who everyone was like, ooh, neat, the second she brought them up, and I'll have the bandits attack them. And then the players can intervene because we've already established that we know that the funeral priests are only here to help. And so rather than antagonize the players, I'll antagonize innocent, helpful NPCs, and the players can choose to intervene or make peace, or again, just blender the extras, and then, we'll we'll get to see something or other. And I had hoped that maybe someone would talk them down, but Neil decided he was playing an antagonistic character, so that not what happened. And they went for the blender and then terrify the helpful NPCs into submission choice.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
It works. It showed off parts of the system.
Right. I mean, I knew that it was going to go it could possibly go that way. This was not a surprise to me. I'm not even mad or disappointed. I just was like, I know this can happen. I've offered you the ticket to something else, but you don't have to take it.
So other than the initial, the impetus,
right,
the inciting event, did you come up with specific details for what would happen further along in the campaign, or was it just like beginning event question marks, fight a shithead ghost?
I was like, beginning event could go either way. He did my inciting incident. Here's the thing that's gonna happen, right? Like, bandits will attack them or someone else. Then I was like, then you go to regardless of how many characters they blendered, one of them was going to surrender, and tell them what was going on, right? And I was like, if they choose to murder, fuck, kill this guy, I guess I'll figure out how, like, if they're like, no, we're gonna kill everyone, I was like, well, I guess I'll figure out how to throw that bone out some other way.
Right. Okay.
I'll just be like, well, they looked all fucked up. There's a Shadowland nearby. The problem's probably over there. Go look. Like, that was, because I also knew that potentially everyone could be like, no, we're just gonna kill everyone.
Yeah.
We're just gonna flex that phenomenal cosmic power for the purposes of destroying literally everyone. I kind of didn't expect that would happen, but it could have. They could have surprised me in a bad way. That I think I would have been a little disappointed in. Mostly just because, like, that's needlessly antagonistic. And playing murder hobos in Exalted, I feel like, is sort of missing the point. But
yeah, especially with the robust social influence system.
Yeah.
That nobody got to see.
I got to see a tiny, tiny little piece of it.
I'm so in love with the social influence system.
So part 2 was enter Shadowland, find out things about Shithead Ghost so that you can either leverage them against him, or figure out how to sneak into his castle, and so on and so forth, right? Like,
right.
A little gather information, which, fortunately, we sort of spent a lot of I didn't really have a strong second act. It was like, I don't know, hang out in Shadowland. And I would have covered for that by continuing to just ask leading questions and tossing out information. And I kind of hoped that maybe people would ask around, or Dixie would get to show off her character's stealth and, like, case the joint, because she was really good at stealth and awareness. And she kind of did. Or they were just gonna march right up to the front door, kick it in, and fight, right? Like, in which case there was just gonna be a big fight. So, you know, I had not described any of the cool things. I just was like, there's a checkpoint-ish, and then Dixie wanted to know more information, and I was just like, what do you think it looks like? Yeah, which apparently blew the minds of a couple people in the chat.
It's just fucking basic. Well, I mean, okay, I need to not be as dismissive of, you know, for some people this is like a unbelievable, like, why would you do that? The GM is supposed to know everything and be the sole creator. But we don't play like that.
Yeah, we don't play like that.
That's not how we roll.
No. And, like, the thing she came up with was cooler than what I had in mind anyway.
Yeah, that's why you asked the players.
Right. She was like, I was imagining this, like, keep, but made of something creepy. And I was like, what if it's made of, like, behemoth teeth? And she was like, fuck yeah. Like, that's how you do it. Like, that's just being good at running games.
Yeah.
So then they were in this creepy keep, this, like, fortress made of behemoth teeth. That looked like it was stone during the day, but when the sun went down and the Shadowland sort of took over, the underworld influence, the Shadowland took over, it was very clearly then made of teeth instead. And Neil's Abyssal character had Command of the Dead, which basically lets the Abyssal go, you, ghost, or other undead creature, you have to do what I tell you. I think it's a one command, you get to tell him to do one thing.
Is that a general abyssal advantage, or was that Moonshadow? I cannot remember.
It's a charm.
Oh, it's a charm. My bad.
Yeah. It is a presence charm, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was just once you get more powerful, it's automatic, but at starting level you have to roll for it. So he just walked right up to the, like, gate guard and was like, "Take me to your leader."
Okay.
And rolled and succeeded. And then I was like, all right, well, okay. So then I was like, well, let me not let this one ability just fucking steamroll the adventure. So here's the other thing. If someone is doing something like that sort of cuts out what you had planned, you don't have to let it happen entirely, right? So it works for his character. I'm pointing out that this one guard that he has commanded will in fact escort his character directly to the guy. But the rest of you don't have to go with him.
Yeah.
So what are the rest of you doing? And of course Danielle was like, I'm gonna go with him. I don't trust him to be alone.
Which is smart.
Yeah. I think Rich wanted to have his lunar go hunt for pies and then come along. Or their underworld pies, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then Dixie wanted to stealth and scout ahead. And so that's what happened. And it sort of cut out the middle part, but that's all right. The second act was weak anyway.
Yeah, just sort of accelerated through it.
Right. And that was when I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's time to take a break, because we were about halfway through.
Yeah. And it allowed me to catch up with the chat while they were, like, scrambling to take notes on literally everything that happened.
All right, so they basically sort of cut through the middle part, which is fine because it wasn't very strong anyway. And then there was a final confrontation with the aforementioned shithead ghost, right?
Yeah.
Who I had been calling an emissary the entire time, and my stats were for an FRAC. Whoops, I'll reveal that now.
Oopsie.
And I was like, well, those are two very different things.
Yes. That's
so,
fine, though.
Right, so I was like, well, let me... Because Nemissaries possess things, and Nephrax are these big, like, beefy things, and I called it the wrong thing literally the entire time.
Big,
and I was like,
beefy,
well...
like, meat ghosts?
Yeah, so I was like, well, what... Since I've been calling it an emissary, how about it's just possessing a big beef body?
Oh, okay.
That was what I rolled with at the end, with its, like, weird, giant, like, you know, shambling corpse of big pieces, like big zombie arms and metal plates sewn into it. And I was like, oh, of course, it's just being extra powerful and dangerous in combat because it's got a war form it's possessing.
Gross. Man.
Which like, jeez. I think was a great
oh yeah,
improvisation for whoops, I made a mistake.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think ghosts in Exalted are fucking gross.
They are. The ones that aren't just ex-people are.
Yeah,
because there's a whole contingent of ghosts that are just like, these are dead people.
They're just like people with the opacity turned down.
Yeah, they're just vibing.
Yeah, they're just vibing, waiting to reincarnate. You know.
Yeah, maybe taking care of some mundane Mayor Meatsuit McCheese.
Mayor Meatsuit McCheese. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, H.
So
really appreciate it.
The Nemissary also had necromancy, which rather the Nephrak stats had necromancy, which Nemissaries can also cast necromancy, so like that wasn't off. Because I took the break and I was like, I was calling it the wrong thing the whole time. Doesn't matter, I'm gonna figure it out. And I was like, I've never given a shit about ghosts before. Nemissaries can cast necromancy, right? Yes? Okay, cool. Fine. Perfect. I didn't fuck that part up. But it didn't come up because the last, like, Neil was like, no, I'm just gonna provoke the Burden of Ages, which is a very cool name, into acting irrationally. Like, I'm just going to use the social system to provoke him into getting so mad at me, he just picks up that big ol' axe and comes screaming at me. And then I'm gonna get out of the way. Yes, H named
let the dawn and the full moon take care
right,
of it.
Yeah. H named the Burden of Ages. So yeah, Neil, that was like the one social role. Neil provokes the target's intimacy, which like the Nephrak had two like just awful monstrous intimacies.
Like the weaker objects.
Yeah.
Like terrible.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, he provokes like the weaker objects by basically being like, you're ugly, give me $60. I hate you, you're ugly, give me $60. You know, you'll never be a badass. Come at me, bro. And when you provoke people in line with their intimacies, it makes it easier to influence them.
Yes.
So by picking at this person's awful nature, he bumped it down to difficulty 1.
It's so good.
Yeah. And then people were like, I thought you didn't roll for anything at difficulty 1. And I was like, it was difficulty 3. He reduced it with the system. God, fuck off. I never said that you don't roll for things. You don't set anything at difficulty 1. It can be reduced to difficulty 1 by interacting with the system or by using effects. You can make things super easy. You just don't ever start things there. So anyway, he reduces it down to like the easiest possible difficulty, and then of course blows it out of the water. So that succeeds. He provokes the Burden of Ages into being just like, fuck you!
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You know, he goes, hi, Morgana.
He goes, hi, Morgana.
Yeah, he goes tearing off after Neil's Abyssal, and then, of course, Daniela's like, I want to start combat right now. So, so then we launched right into setting up initiative, and then throwing down with the final boss, who was provoked into acting like a tool bag, so did not cast any necromancy.
Even though you spent all that time trying to cover it, do they still know necromancy?
Yep.
Well,
I mean, like, when I was taking that break, it still could have come up.
Yes.
I did not know that that was what Neil was going to do.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that that option was still on the table and that I didn't need to ignore it, and then I just yes-anded the player's choice.
All right.
Yep. And we got to show off...
That's how you run Exalted Essence, everybody.
Yeah, we got
to wait for the final product.
Yeah. We did get to show off a bunch of stuff about the social system. I did explain in the chat. So the first thing Rich wants to do is use his really strong lunar to pull down the wall. And, like, use it to knock over or hurt the bad guy, right? But it's turn 1. He has 0 power.
Right.
And you have to, basically the way Essence works is you have to, like, basically charge up your super bar, so you have this thing called power, which then lets you do cool shit like that. And you have an action where you basically just get to be like, and charge it up.
Yeah.
Everybody
gets to yell for a turn.
Yeah. And you can also charge it up just by making attacks, so, like, you can just do something cool, like, start swinging at the guy to start charging yourself up, right? But if you don't have any power, you basically have no resource to do other stuff. And no, I don't think characters need to start with power. You're supposed to do cool things, like by fighting or using build power or whatever.
Right. You said that like someone has argued with you.
I was just waiting for the argument. I was preempting it.
Ah, okay.
I was like, someone's going to listen to this and then post on the channel, well, maybe characters should start with power. Nah. Nope. Power is the thing that works. No.
You're talking to a completely different Discord now.
I'm having an argument with no one.
Yes, good job.
Thanks. I do this often. It's a symptom of anxiety. Anyway, so I'm like, well, I don't want to tell him no. That's the least fun thing to do, is to be like, you can't do that. So I just improvised it as a build power action, which is a perfectly valid thing to do. Like, there is no physique build power action currently because physique's an attack stat. Can be an attack stat. But pulling down a wall to create an advantage for yourself and your teammates is exactly what build power does.
Yes.
So I was just like, okay, well, this is going to be a physique-based build power action, and, you know, you're going to roll physique, you're going to get your automatic success, because this is not a attack action. And basically...
But that was the lunar thing, right?
Right. Because he shapeshifted into hybrid body transformation, so he turned into his big old werebear form, and that cost 2 motes, so it put him immediately into active anima.
Yes.
Yes,
that's right. Essence is so good.
So yeah, he had his automatic success. He pulls the wall down, and so like, and then people were like, "Oh, do you have to like mess with the scenery to do stuff?" And I was like, "No, you have to build power to do stuff."
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be like
into this a little too far.
Yeah, I was like, and I didn't. Yes, weird flex, but okay is a build power action. And so I just had to improvise like how to do the cool thing on the fly without telling him no. What do you want, BB? Just saying hi? Okay, here's a Julia here again.
Oh, hi, Julia.
Ray says hi. Hi, Ray. Did you hear her?
Completely normal voice.
Yeah, she said it in a completely normal voice. Could you hear her? She said hi.
I did.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that was like the thing that I ruled off the cuff. And thank goodness Danielle was there, because I got real tongue-tied trying to navigate a question Dixie asked me, mostly just because I had you ever have the ADHD or anxiety brain problem where like someone asks you a question and your brain answers it with 3 different answers, and then you have to manage which one's the right one?
Yes.
And then, like, you're like, okay, well, I don't want to tell them the wrong thing and then make them upset, so I have to navigate which one is the right answer. And I was also a little not sober, so I was like, you could, and then Danielle was like, here are your options, and stepped in to, like, save my ass. Bless her, because that could have been really frustrating and embarrassing. on screen as I wrestle with my own brain to answer things for people. So Danielle has to be flight attendanting me in all games from now on.
Sort of like Rob on our streams.
Truly. I got that term from Shut Up and Sit Down, which is a wonderful YouTube channel that reviews board games. If you have never watched them, you should.
Yeah.
They're great. They're charming Englishmen. Flight attendanting is when someone is assisting you but not talking over you, and they like step in to like yes and or assist when you are clearly struggling with that, or when there are too many people for you to answer the questions at the same time. Because I'm sure we've also been in plenty of situations where two people try to explain the same thing to the person at the same time, and it just confuses them more.
Yes.
Yeah. So your flight attendant needs to shut up while you're explaining something, and if you're not doing it well enough, or if you're getting tongue-tied, or if too many people are asking you questions, then your flight attendant is like, okay, here, listen to me. I'm gonna help you. Deputize Danielle into being my flight attendant. Always.
We're just sharing a bunch of GIFs
I
on the
see this
channel now about build
power
examples.
actions.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about build power that we didn't really get to demonstrate at all in the game is that you can use every ability in the game to do it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like, the attack actions, you just make withering attacks to build up power. That's like the core rule. But every other ability in the game grants you the ability to build power somehow. Like, integrity lets you, like, take a deep centering breath and, you know, harness your breath to strengthen your muscles or whatever. I don't care. Stun it however you want. The other thing I wish we would have had a chance to show off that we didn't really get a chance to was sharing stunt dice. Nobody wanted to share stunt dice. Or didn't go on long enough, I don't think. People banked stunt dice, but they didn't share them with other people.
I should be doing this in the Essence chat, not in our own podcast chat.
Oh, you can certainly do that as well.
They'll ban me.
They will not ban you. They have a sense of humor.
I was in the Scion channel briefly. Like, oh, cause the piece of art for Titanomachy had just come out, and people were still like, "Who are these beautiful people?" Mm-hmm. And I was in there like sliding. Hey, I heard you talking about my boy. And then I was like, gotta go, because I thought about making a joke about, like, gotta leave before I almost get banned again, but I left before making the joke. Monica.
Yeah.
Where can they find our show?
They can find us at bxpcast.com, which we really sucked at updating, so they can also find us at misdirectedmark.com, and then go click on the bonus experience logo.
Because we're part of the Misdirected Mark Network. Bing! How about email?
They can send us an email at bxpcast.com, at bonusexpcast@gmail.com.
I like doing this while you're, like,
trying to think.
Yeah. What about Twitter? Do you remember our Twitter?
At bonusexpcast.
Yeah, okay. What about your Twitter?
My Twitter is at ZenithSun. What about your
Mine
Twitter?
Is Ray W. Cole.
No more underscore.
No more underscore. I've been underscoreless for quite some time now. Finally got rid of that thing. Kept stepping in it.
Whoops.
Getting it on the bottom of my shoe. Coffee's wearing off. I'm getting sleepy.
Oh, no. I haven't eaten yet, so I should probably do that.
I think I'm going to do the opposite of build power and go take a nap.
You should definitely go post these GIFs with just build power into the Essence channel. I want you to do this. I want you to do this so
right.
badly.
I'll go do that and then take a nap.
All right.
And in the meantime, everybody stay safe and change it if you want to.
Change it if you want to.
Everybody get out.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Dan, thanks for hanging out with us. Bye.
Bye.
Bonus Experience is written and produced by Monica and Ray, and edited by Margaret. Our logo and art are by Nino Studios. Check them out on Instagram and Twitter. Our theme song is Reuse Noise with the Light by CDK, and is used under the Attribution Non-Commercial Creative Commons license. Bonus Experience is a part of the Misdirected Mark Network. This podcast is a permanent charm, reducing the difficulty of all storyteller roles by your essence. We'll see you next time.